The soldier who fought a war that was already over, the 29-year War of Hiro Onoda. When World War II ended in 1945, the world tried to heal. Cities were rebuilt. Armies returned home. Families reunited. Governments changed. The war was over. For almost everyone. But deep inside a dense Philippine jungle, surrounded by towering trees, humid air, wild animals, and miles of silence, there lived a man who still believed the war was raging on. His name was Hiro Onoda. The soldier who fought for 29 years, refusing to surrender, refusing to believe the world had changed. Because he had never received the order to stop. This is one of the strangest, most unbelievable, and most emotional survival stories in human history. 1. A soldier born for duty. Hiro Onoda was born in 1922 in Japan. He grew up in a strict household where discipline, loyalty, and honor were considered more important than anything else. From a young age, he was taught one lesson. A Japanese soldier never surrenders. When World War II began, Onoda was trained as an intelligence officer. He wasn't the strongest or the fastest soldier, but he was incredibly loyal, smart, and mentally unbreakable. His job was simple but dangerous. Gather information. Confuse the enemy. Survive at any cost. Never surrender. Never get captured alive. To him, these rules were not instructions. They were sacred. In 1944, he received the mission that would decide the rest of his life. 2. The Jungle Mission. Onoda was sent to Lubang Island in the Philippines. His orders. 1. Cause chaos to slow down American forces. 2. Destroy runways and supplies. 3. Never surrender. 4. Never take your own life. 5. Hold the island until the Imperial Army returns. He promised his commander that he would follow these orders, even if it took years. He had no idea that it would take 3 decades. 3. The world changes, but not his world. In February 1945, American forces captured Lubang Island. Japanese soldiers were killed, captured, or surrendered. But not Onoda. Along with a few other soldiers, he escaped deep into the jungle. The war ended soon after. But he didn't know. The Japanese government announced its surrender. People celebrated across the world. New countries were formed. The atomic age began. Humanity stepped into a new era. But inside the jungle, Onoda was still sharpening his knives. Still cleaning his rifle. Still preparing for war. To him, the year was still 1945. The war still continued. He was still a soldier. 4. Leaflets from the sky. Months after the war ended, American planes dropped leaflets into the jungle. The war has ended. Japan surrendered. Please come out. Most soldiers came out. But Onoda looked at the leaflets and said, "This is enemy propaganda. Lies." Another set of leaflets came. This time signed by high-ranking Japanese officers. Onoda refused again. Impossible. Japan would never surrender. His loyalty was so strong that he believed the entire world was lying to him. But not his commander. He had received no official order. So he continued the mission. 5. The jungle becomes his world. The years passed. Seasons changed. Governments changed. The world rebuilt itself. Technology advanced. People moved to cities. Televisions became common. Humans even went to space. But Onoda? He learned to live like a ghost in the jungle. He and the remaining soldiers built small hidden camps between thick bamboo trees. They hunted animals, stole rice from villages, used taro leaves for water, and repaired their old uniforms with bark and vines. At night, they lit no fires. They believed American soldiers were still nearby. They moved silently and slept lightly. Every time villagers approached them, Onoda assumed they were enemies. He lived in a world created inside his mind. A world frozen in 1945. 6. The death of his companions. Onoda wasn't alone forever. Over the years, his small group slowly disappeared. One surrendered. One died in a gunfight. One was killed by search patrols. Finally, in 1972, Onoda's last companion, Kozuka, was shot by police while burning farmers' fields, believing he was still disrupting enemy supplies. Now Onoda was alone. He had survived typhoons, hunger, sickness, wild animals, tropical diseases, 27 years of war, heartbreak, loneliness. But what hurt him most was losing the last soldier who understood him. From that moment, he lived completely alone. The only man in the world still fighting World War II. 7. The Strange Meeting. A young explorer enters the story. In 1974, 29 years after the war, a young Japanese traveler named Norio Suzuki entered the jungle, searching for a panda, the abominable snowman, and hero Onoda. He actually said, "I want to find 3 things, a panda, the Yeti, and Onoda." People laughed. But he meant it. After days of searching, Suzuki finally came face to face with a thin, armed, weathered soldier dressed in a torn uniform. When he saw Onoda, he shouted, "Onoda-san! The war is over. Please come home." But Onoda pointed his gun at him. "I will not leave. I am waiting for my commander's orders." Suzuki didn't give up. He returned to Japan and tracked down Onoda's former commander, Major Yoshimi Taniguchi, now an old man running a bookstore. Taniguchi agreed to go back to the Philippines. 8. The order that ended 29 years of war. On March 9, 1974, the unbelievable happened. Standing inside the jungle clearing was his old commander. Wearing his old uniform. Holding his old sword. Onoda froze. His eyes shook. His breath stopped. The only man he trusted. The only man he believed. The only one whose orders mattered. Had come back for him. The commander opened a paper and read loudly. "All combat activities of the Imperial Japanese Army have ceased. You are ordered to stop your mission and return home." Onoda stood silent for a long time. Then slowly, he lowered his rifle. He took a deep breath. For the first time, he accepted reality. The war had been over. For 29 long years. 9. The soldier finally comes home. When Onoda walked out of the jungle, thousands of people watched in shock. He bowed. Then handed over his rifle, his ammunition, his sword, his hand grenades. Even the dagger his mother gave him, for suicide if captured. Everything was still in working condition. He had preserved them for 29 years. Japan welcomed him as a hero. Some saw him as a symbol of loyalty. Some saw him as a victim of war. But all were amazed by his unbelievable endurance. He struggled to adapt to modern Japan. Cars everywhere. Skyscrapers. Televisions. Supermarkets. New music. New fashions. New rules. The world he had left in 1945 did not exist anymore. 10. A new life, a new mission. Feeling disconnected, Onoda eventually moved to Brazil and became a farmer. Years later, he returned to Japan and founded a school to teach young people survival skills, discipline, and mental strength. He lived a quiet life until his peaceful death in 2014 at the age of 91. He never expressed regret for the 29 years. He simply said, "I did my duty. I followed my orders. A soldier must not surrender." His story is impossible to forget. Because it asks a question that has no easy answer. Was he heroic? Or tragic? Or both? But one thing is certain. Hiro Onoda proved that the human mind, when committed, can survive anything. Even a war that ended 3 decades earlier.